name is Deji James, and I will be summarizing I Am Joaquin by Rodolfo Gonzalez. I took notes, so this is what I will be reading off of. I can go off the top of my head too. So my take on I Am Joaquin is like a call to action. It's like saying, rise up, stand up, believe in who you are, stay true to who you are, never conform, never throw in the white flag, never give up, never give in. That's basically what I'm getting. It's like it's time to take back what is ours. They robbed us of everything, and now it's time that we take our rightful place in history and make it known that this land is ours. This belongs to us. So in the beginning of the actual video, the sun was setting, which is a symbolization of the end of an era or dark times ahead. Because usually when the sun sets, it goes from light to dark. So I'm assuming the fight that they were about to encounter with the Europeans at that time. I also noticed the pictures in the beginning of the video. One of the pictures kind of reminded me of the Emmett Till when he was in his casket. I don't know if that was just a painting or an actual image of a person, but the puffy eyes, the puffy face, the puffy everything, it looks like he was tortured and beat up. He or she, let me correct that. He or she looks like they were tortured, beat up, and probably killed. Same in the same manner Emmett Till was killed. So I made it a thing to reference this one line. My father has lost the economic battle, but won the cultural struggle. So with that saying, basically, we stayed true to who we were. We preserved who we were. We preserved our way of life. We fought for our way of life. We fought for our heritage. We sacrificed. And in the end, yes, we won that war, but we lost the battle financially. Economically, they weren't, doing the best. They weren't bringing in the most money. They weren't actually winning on a financial scale, but they stayed true to who they were. They preserved their traditions and values. So in a way, I would say that would be far more important than finances. But I mean, it really just depends on the eye of the beholder. What do you believe? Yes, I have come a long way to nowhere, dragged by that monstrous technical giant called progress and Anglo success. So what I took from that was he finally gave in. He lost who he was in that point because when life is moving on and there's progress, you either get with it or get lost. And I'm sure it was more beneficial in a way to actually move with time than to go against it. So that's what he did. But in the process of doing that, he lost himself. He felt like he had no self worth. He felt like there was nothing to him that was, that he was proud of. He did what everybody did at the time, which was conform and basically get lost in the sauce. Get lost in dealing with another way of life, something that he's not accustomed to. That's where the confusion comes in with the rules, the laws, and everything, because the land that they were on was stolen from them, and now they're being told that, hey, in order to stay on this land or in order to grow with life, you have to go with progress. And that's also like gentrification. We've been here so long, but then you move big business in, you move all these big companies in, and you push us out, or we have to conform to that new way of life, which is usually higher rent, higher bills, more money coming out of your pockets for an area that you once could afford, but now you can't afford it. All right. So from that excerpt alone, he was losing himself, trying to keep up with the way of life to make money and exist, but losing one's true sense of belonging/purpose. Resentment and sorrow is what Joaquin feels, longing for a sense of community within his heritage. All right. So he made a mention of that where he said, I can't quote it verbatim exactly, but basically, I cry for my brothers, but sacrifice my own, my own unity or something like that. Now, I know I'm far off from the verse and I should have wrote it down, but I didn't. But I know I'm far off from the verse, but that's basically what he was saying. He's crying for a sense of belonging. He wants to belong within his heritage. He wants his people to exist and be okay. The mention of the Aztec and Maya civilization, speaking of the loss of land, culture, and autonomy under Spanish rules, which identifies with both conquered indigenous people and colonizers. The exploitation of Mexican Chicano labor, particularly in factories, feels similar to the slavery of African American people. So, just like African American people, we were We were shipped here from Africa. We were forced to work in those lands and say, hey, you're going to do this, you're going to do that without pay, da da da. But they were paid, we weren't. Catholicism was in Catholicism was introduced to the people, and it has exploited and offered salvation to people. So a lot of times people use Christianity or Catholicism or religion as a way of justifying wrongdoing. They come into your lands, they introduce you to a new way of life, they introduce you to their religion, and they justify their wrongdoing by saying, hey, it says this in the Bible. Or, in Catholicism or Christianity, we believe there is only one God, one true God. So now you must lose your faith, lose your sense, lose who you believe in, or forget about who you believe in just to say, hey, I'm worthy. I believe in this person. We're on the same page. So they also mentioned the Mexican War of Independence, which ended the Spanish rule and led to economic instability. They mentioned the Mexican Revolution, laying foundation for social justice reform, led to political struggle. They also mentioned the Chicano movement. Racism, segregation, and second class citizenship in the United States. This is what the Chicanos dealt with, and in this poem, it speaks of that. It speaks of the racism, the segregation, and the second class citizenship in the United States. The land that once belonged to them. The Europeans came in and made them second class citizens. This is part of what this poem is talking about. It says, Justice is fault for not giving. Right? So they weren't due. They weren't entitled to justice. Just like African Americans were when Jim Crow came in. They felt as if we didn't deserve to be represented by the law. And that's the same with the Mexican Americans. They came into your lands, took your lands from you, and told you you weren't worthy. You weren't good enough. So you had to fight for every right that you have now. You have to fight for everything that you have going on right now. So this poem to me was a call for pride among Spanish and indigenous people. It speaks a lot about the Aztecs and the different groups of people, the Chicanos. It speaks about the present, the past, and the future. It speaks about that. And it's kind of similar to what's going on in today's time because right now in the country we live in, we have a president that's all for deportation, a cabinet of members that are all for deportation. They're trying to say, hey, your rights do not matter. We're going to take your birthright citizenship. We're going to take your green cards, and we want you gone. We want you out of here. And that's kind of what's going on here. But there's so much war and division amongst their own group of people that it's almost like it overshadows what the bigger picture is, and which is like the Europeans or the people in power are your enemies, not the people amongst you, not your own people. Y'all are not enemies. Y'all should work together to join forces and, basically demolish the system. And that's what I take from that. There's power in numbers. Demands to end exploitation, seeks dignity for laborers, farm workers, and the working class. Chicanos are united by a common struggle for dignity and rights. A act of cultural affirmation encouraging Chicanos to celebrate their traditions, language, and resilience. All right, so Joaquin Murrieta, I don't know if I'm saying that right, which actually reminds me of Murrieta, California. I want to do is he tied to Murrieta, California? Might have to look into that. Okay. But he was basically a Mexican bandit, also often portrayed as a folk hero, which is where they got the idea of Zorro from. Zorro was basically your modern day Robin Hood, but for the Hispanic people. He basically stole from the rich and gave to the needy, and that's what Joaquin was seen as. He was seen as a folk hero to his own people, but an enemy to the Europeans or anybody that was not of the Mexican descent. All right, so this was to me, like I said, it was a call to action. This was a call to action. Like, hey, stand up for what you believe in, stay true to who you are. Don't give up. We as a people are powerful in numbers, and it kind of, I said this in the class. It resonates with my spirit because what's going on today. Now you have a lot of the Latinos, out on the interstate, or I don't know if they were Latinos or Hispanic or if they were both out on the interstate protesting, demanding stopping traffic on the 110. I want to say I don't remember, but stopping traffic to basically say my rights matter. I belong here. You know what I'm saying? I have every right to be here. You can't take my rights away. But then in the same breath, you have the Latino community going against the Hispanic community, which I'm finding out they're not all one, but they're going against them, basically saying, "Hey, it's okay for me to come over here and make a way of life, but it's not okay for you to do it." You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to come over here and I want to be able to get my green card and I want to be able to have kids that have birthright citizenships. But no, you got to go about it the right way, which we don't really know what the right way is. Um, but that's what it reminds me of today's struggle with the protesting all over the country, with the Hispanic culture, the Chicano movement, the Latino movement, where they're actually out there fighting for their rights, saying, "Hey, I belong here. I deserve to be here." And all actuality, I do feel as if they deserve to be here. I feel as if everybody deserves to be here. Go about it the right way. Of course, I don't want to, you know what I'm saying. I don't want to say the wrong thing and be attacked for that. So, I mean, everybody comes here looking for opportunity, looking for a chance, and I feel like no one should be denied that. And that's basically what the Chicano movement is about. It's like, hey, we want our fair and equal rights. We fought to be here. This is our land. Y'all took it from us. Y'all stole it from us, and we want it back. But it's also a reminder of who you are. Stay true to who you are. Okay? Never conform. Never give in. You are important. Your heritage. You come from a long line of fighters. You come from a long line of resistance. You come from a long line of power. You come from a long line of just indigenous people, and you should embrace who you are and stay true to who you are. Stop conforming to the way of life. Stay true to who you are. Remember who you are. And that's really what I take away from this poem. It was a call to action and also to remember who you are.